The rain hadn't stopped since the funeral. It came down in soft, endless sheets, tapping against the windows like an old clock, counting down the moments Maya Thompson wished she could rewind. She stood at the edge of the driveway, her car engine fading into silence behind her. The small, two-story suburban house loomed in front of her, wrapped in a quiet sadness. It was her mother's house, now hers, but it didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a memory she wasn't ready to touch. When Maya unlocked the door, the smell hit her first, that faint trace of her mother's favorite lavender perfume, mixed with the stillness of a place long untouched. Every step she took echoed in the empty rooms. Her fingers brushed over picture frames on the wall. Her mother smiling in sunlight, holding Maya as a baby, their faces frozen in happiness that now felt like a lie. She whispered to herself, "I'll just pack what matters, and leave the rest." But as she stepped into her mother's bedroom, something inside her shifted. The room looked exactly as it had the day her mother passed. The floral curtains were still tied neatly. Her jewelry tray still sat beside the mirror, a half-empty perfume bottle beside it. The bed was made perfectly, except for a single dent on the edge of the blanket where her mother used to sit every morning. Maya hesitated before touching anything. She sat on the bed and closed her eyes, breathing in the scent, lavender and dust. "Why does it still feel like you're here, Mom?" she murmured. The silence didn't answer, but the thunder outside did, a low, heavy growl that rattled the windows. Taking a deep breath, Maya forced herself to move. She began pulling out drawers, folding clothes, sorting old letters and photos into piles. Each piece of paper felt like a piece of her own heart, fragile, full of things left unsaid. When she reached under the bed to check for boxes, her hand brushed against something hard. She frowned, reaching deeper until her fingers closed around an object wrapped in fabric. She pulled it out and froze. It was a leather-bound book, covered in dust and age. A faded red ribbon was tied around it, holding it shut. The corners were worn, the pages slightly yellowed. Maya could smell faint perfume on the cover, the same scent that filled the room. Her heart began to beat faster. A diary? Her mother had never mentioned keeping one. She sat cross-legged on the floor, brushing off the dust. The ribbon loosened easily, falling apart like something that had been waiting to be opened for years. For a moment, Maya hesitated. She stared at the diary, her hands trembling slightly. It felt wrong, like reading a secret that wasn't meant for her. But grief and curiosity pulled at her harder than guilt ever could. The first page was dated June 12, 1995. The handwriting was neat, deliberate, but it wasn't her mother's. Maya frowned. "Who?" she whispered, tracing the ink with her fingertip. The opening line sent a chill through her chest. I never meant for her to find out. Her breath caught. Every instinct told her to close the book, to put it back where she found it. But the words on that page felt like a voice calling from the past, begging to be heard. She turned the next page. Each line carried weight, sorrow, fear, and something darker she couldn't name. Maya's pulse quickened. She read the next entry, and the next, the pages whispering secrets in the stillness of the room. Rain kept tapping against the window. The house seemed to breathe with her, as if it too was waiting for the truth to come out. Hours slipped by without her noticing. The lamp beside her bed flickered as the storm outside grew heavier. The diary rested open on her lap, its pages filled with names she didn't recognize and memories that didn't belong to her. And yet, something about the way the writer described certain places, certain moments, it all felt too close, too personal. Maya's hand shook as she whispered, "Who are you?" Lightning flashed through the window, lighting up the room, and for a moment, she thought she saw movement in the mirror. Her own reflection stared back, pale and wide-eyed. clutching a stranger's diary that somehow felt like it was always meant to be hers. She didn't know it yet, but this was the night that would change everything. The night the past finally reached out from under the bed. The storm outside hadn't slowed. Thunder rolled like distant anger, and lightning lit up the corners of the old bedroom in brief, startling flashes. Maya sat on the floor, her back against the bed frame, the diary resting open across her knees. The small clock on the nightstand blinked 1:43 a.m., but she didn't care. Sleep had no place in her mind anymore. Each word she read pulled her deeper, not just into someone else's story, but into a dark shadow that felt strangely familiar. The writer called herself E. No last name, no clue to who she was. Maya read carefully, her lips moving slightly, as if saying the words would help her understand them better. He said, I could trust him. He said I was safe. But I can't tell anyone what I saw that night. I don't even know who to turn to anymore. The handwriting was beautiful, curved and elegant, but shaky in some places, like the writer had been scared while writing. Maya frowned, flipping to the next page. I didn't mean for this to happen. I just wanted love, not this, not the lies. He promised he'd protect me, but all he gave me was fear. The words clawed at her chest. Who was he? The more Maya read, the more she began to notice small details. A town name here, a date there. The entries jumped between years, but the tone grew darker with every page. The woman in the diary, E, spoke of someone she couldn't escape, someone powerful, charming, and dangerous. Maya leaned back, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing. The dates, the emotions, the secrecy. Something about it all felt too close to home. She reached for her phone and opened the Notes app, typing quickly. June 12, 1995. August 3, 1996. September 1st, 1996. Her fingers froze. September 1996. That was the year before she was born. Her stomach twisted. She glanced at the framed photo of her mother on the dresser. The same warm smile, the same gentle eyes. Could this diary belong to her? But it didn't make sense. The handwriting wasn't hers, and her mother's name wasn't E still. The more Maya read, the more she felt that the woman in the diary wasn't a stranger at all. As she flipped further, the entries turned from fear to heartbreak. He said he loved me. He said I was his world. But love shouldn't feel like a cage. He watches me, every move, every call. I want to run, but he'd find me. He always does. Maya's chest tightened. Sometimes I imagine a life far away from here. A quiet place. A child in my arms. A second chance. Her hands began to tremble. A child. Maya's eyes widened. Could she be that child? The diary didn't say names, but every detail seemed to point back to her own mother's life. Even the places mentioned were ones her mother used to avoid talking about. The storm raged harder. The power flickered, the room briefly plunging into darkness. For a moment, Maya sat frozen, clutching the diary to her chest like it might protect her. When the light came back, she forced herself to keep reading. He doesn't know about the letters. I keep them hidden in the same place I hide myself. If he ever finds them, he'll destroy everything, even her. Her. Maya whispered it aloud. The words sent a shiver down her spine. Whoever this woman was, she was terrified. Not just for herself, but for someone else. Someone innocent. And yet, she kept writing. Even in fear, she kept her truth alive on paper. Maya's heart broke for her. Hours passed. The rain softened, but Maya's thoughts grew heavier. She closed the diary for a moment and pressed her palms against her eyes, trying to breathe. The person she had always seen as pure and gentle, her mother, now felt like a stranger wrapped in secrets. If her mother had truly lived through something like this, why hadn't she ever said anything? Why raise Maya in silence, pretending everything was fine? Was her father part of this? She tried to picture him. A faint blur from her childhood. A warm voice she barely remembered. Her mother had said he died in an accident. But what if that wasn't true? Her chest ached as the questions multiplied. Maya turned another page, unable to stop. Each new line felt like a spark. Small, dangerous, unstoppable. She didn't even realize the time until the clock blinked 3:30 a.m. The rain had stopped, but the air still hummed with tension. Her eyes burned from reading, but she couldn't let go. He promised to protect me, but he destroyed everything. The words echoed in her mind like a whisper that wouldn't fade. She pressed her hand to the page, her fingers tracing the fading ink. "What did he do to you?" she whispered, and in a way, it felt like she was speaking to her mother. Not to the woman who raised her, but to the woman who had lived before her, the one she never really knew. Maya closed the diary, clutching it tightly against her chest. She stared at the dark window, her reflection barely visible in the glass. Something deep inside her said this wasn't just a story. It was a warning, and whatever truth it held, it wasn't finished yet. The next morning crept in slow and gray. Maya hadn't slept. She sat on the couch with a half-finished cup of coffee, the diary resting beside her like a living thing. The storm was gone, but the quiet felt heavier than thunder. Every creak of the house sounded louder now, as if the walls were whispering secrets she wasn't meant to hear. Her eyes kept drifting back to the diary. She'd promised herself she would stop after sunrise, but she couldn't. She needed to know more. Maya opened to where she left off. The next pages were darker, the handwriting faster, desperate. "He's watching again. I can feel it. Every time I leave the house, I see the same car. Every night, the same shadow at the corner of my window." Maya's stomach turned. She read faster. "I wish I'd never told him what I saw. I thought he'd protect me. Instead, he's the one I should have feared." The words felt like a confession. Not just fear, but guilt. The writer had seen something terrible. Maya rubbed her temple, trying to piece it together. Who was he, and what had E seen that made her so afraid? She turned another page. "If anything happens to me, let her know I did it all for her. She's the only thing that keeps me alive." Her hand froze over the paper. "Her," Maya whispered. The connection hit her like ice water. The child, the fear, the love in those words. Could E be her mother after all? Maya closed her eyes and tried to remember her childhood. She saw flashes. Her mother locking the doors at night, always checking the windows twice. The way she'd panic when strangers knocked. How she never liked taking photos or talking about the past. At the time, Maya had thought her mother was just careful, maybe overprotective. But now, every memory felt different. Every moment had a shadow she'd never noticed before. A soft knock from outside made her jump. She turned sharply toward the window, just a tree branch tapping the glass. But her heart wouldn't calm down. For the first time, Maya realized how easily fear could slip into her life. The same way it had slipped into E.'s. The diary mentioned only one other name: Clara. Maya frowned. Aunt Clara had been her mother's best friend, practically family. If anyone knew something about this, it would be her. She picked up the phone and called. It rang 5 times before a tired voice answered. "Maya, sweetheart," Clara said softly. "You okay?" Maya hesitated. "I found something in Mom's room." "A diary." Silence on the line. Then a long breath. "A diary?" "Yes, it's old. The writer talks about being followed, about someone dangerous. And there's a child involved. I think—" "Maya." Clara's tone changed, suddenly sharp. "Listen to me. Whatever you found, put it away. You don't need to read it." "What? Why not?" "It's the past. Your mother wanted it to stay buried. Let it go. Maya's throat tightened. Clara, please. Do you know who E is? Clara's voice cracked. Maya, some things don't need to be known. They only hurt. Before Maya could say another word, Clara hung up. Maya sat in silence, staring at the phone screen, her hands trembling. Why would Clara sound so afraid? Why tell her to stop digging, unless she knew exactly what Maya was about to find? That night, the house felt different, colder, quieter. Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't alone, like something unseen lingered in the corners of every room. She left the lights on, telling herself it was just her imagination. But every time the floor creaked, she flinched. Every gust of wind against the window felt like someone whispering her name. She picked up the diary again, even though part of her didn't want to. He's getting closer. I know he is. I can't run forever. If you're reading this, it means he's found me. Maya's eyes widened. The words blurred as she reread them. If you're reading this, it means he's found me. She dropped the diary onto the floor. Her pulse thundered in her ears. Who was he? And what happened after this entry? She flipped to the next page, but it was blank. Completely blank. Every page after that, empty. The story stopped there. The writer's voice vanished mid-sentence, leaving only silence. Maya stared at the open diary, her heart pounding. She whispered, "What happened to you?" But she already knew this wasn't fiction. Whoever E was, she'd lived in fear until the very end. And somehow, her story was tied to Maya's family, maybe even to Maya herself. Lightning flashed through the window again, lighting up the room. In that brief moment, Maya saw her reflection in the mirror. Pale, haunted, and holding a diary that had stopped telling its story. Because maybe its story wasn't finished. Her mother's secrets weren't buried. They were waiting, and now they had found her. Morning sunlight cut through the curtains like dull blades. Maya sat at the kitchen table, the diary open before her. The blank pages glared back, mocking her with their silence. She'd barely slept. Every sound from the night still echoed in her ears. The groaning pipes, the wind under the door, the faint, almost human sigh she swore she'd heard from the attic. She needed answers. There had to be something more. A clue, a letter, anything. She went back to her mother's room and began searching again. Drawers, boxes, behind picture frames. Dust covered everything, but behind an old photograph, she found a folded envelope. It was yellowed, brittle. On the front, written in the same handwriting as the diary. For Clara, if something happens. Her heart stopped. She hesitated, then opened it. The paper crackled softly. Clara, I don't know if this will ever reach you. He's back. I saw his car outside the school again. I know he knows where we are. I can't keep Maya safe forever. You promised you'd take care of her if I couldn't. If I disappear, tell her I loved her enough to run. Tell her the truth, when she's ready. The letter slipped from Maya's fingers. Her mother had written this. Her mother was E. The diary wasn't a stranger's fear. It was her mother's life, written in secret, hidden under her bed all these years. Maya felt the world tilt around her. Her knees went weak, and she sat down, holding the letter like it might vanish if she let go. The questions multiplied faster than she could breathe. Who was he? Why had her mother run? And what had Aunt Clara been protecting her from all this time? Without thinking, she dialed Aunt Clara again. This time, Clara answered immediately. Maya, please, she said before Maya could speak, her voice shaking. Don't read anymore. It's not safe. Not safe? Maya's voice broke with anger. You knew about all this. You knew what happened to my mom. There was silence. Then Clara whispered, I was trying to protect you. From what? From him. From the man she ran from. Maya's breath caught. Who was he? Clara's voice trembled. Your father. The world fell silent. My… what? He wasn't the man she thought he was. When she found out the truth about him, she tried to leave. But he wouldn't let her. I helped her disappear, change her name, start over. She never wanted you to know. She wanted you to grow up free. Maya's hands shook as tears filled her eyes. My father was dangerous? Clara hesitated. More than you can imagine. After the call, Maya went to the living room, still reeling. Her eyes caught an old family photo on the shelf. Her mother holding a baby, smiling. But the frame was slightly too thick. She pried open the back. Inside, hidden behind the photo, was another picture. Grainy, old, torn. It showed her mother, younger, holding hands with a man Maya didn't recognize. The man's smile was sharp, charming, but his eyes were wrong. Cold. On the back of the photo were the words, "Don't trust the man in the mirror." Maya's stomach turned. That handwriting again. Her mother's. The air in the house felt colder. She looked around, suddenly aware of her own reflection in the glass cabinet nearby. Pale, trembling, and behind her. For a heartbeat, she thought she saw a shadow move. Maya grabbed the diary again, flipping through the blank pages. But as her fingers brushed the paper, she noticed something strange. Faint impressions beneath the last written words. She tilted the pages toward the light. Hidden under the blank surface were pressed marks, like someone had written and then torn out the inked pages. She shaded the page with a pencil, tracing the invisible words. He found me again. I can't run anymore. If anyone reads this, don't look for the house. Don't open the door. He never left. The words stopped there. Her pulse hammered in her ears. Don't open the door. A sudden, loud knock echoed through the empty house. 3 sharp knocks. She froze. The sound came from the front door. Maya's breath hitched. She crept toward the door, every step careful. The diary clutched in her hands like a shield. Through the peephole, she saw nothing. Just rain-soaked darkness. Another knock, louder this time, then a man's voice, low and calm. Maya? This is Detective Lewis. I'm with the local police. You called earlier about a disturbance? Maya hesitated. She hadn't called anyone. Her voice barely came out. I didn't… Ma'am, the voice interrupted gently. I just need to ask you a few questions. Her heart pounded. The words, "Don't open the door," screamed in her head. She stayed silent. Maya, the voice said again, please, it's important. But when she looked through the peephole again, the porch was empty. No car, no man, just rain and darkness. Maya backed away slowly, shaking. Tears blurred her vision as she clutched the diary to her chest. Everything her mother had feared. The running, the hiding, the paranoia. It was all coming alive again. She fell to her knees, whispering, Mom, what did you do? What did you leave behind? The diary slipped open, the blank pages fluttering in the air, as if something unseen had exhaled. In that fragile silence, she realized something horrifying. Whatever her mother had run from hadn't ended. It had only been waiting for her to find it. The phone rang. Slicing through the silence, Maya hesitated, then answered. The voice on the other end was calm, deep, and unfamiliar. Evelyn? It said, her mother's real name. Maya froze. No, she whispered. This is her daughter. A pause. Then softly, I know. I've been waiting for you. The line went dead. The phone slipped from Maya's hand and hit the floor with a dull thud. The house was silent again. Too silent. She stared at the screen. No caller ID, no trace of the number. Just those words echoing in her head. I've been waiting for you. Her body trembled. Every instinct screamed for her to leave the house, but something stronger, something deeper, rooted her to the floor. She needed to know who that voice belonged to. Was it him? Was her father still alive after all these years? Or had the fear her mother ran from finally found a new home? In her. By morning, the storm had passed, leaving behind a sky heavy with gray clouds. Maya drove to Aunt Clara's house, the diary and letter clutched tightly in her hands. Clara lived at the edge of town, a small, lonely cottage surrounded by trees that always seemed to whisper secrets when the wind blew. When Maya knocked, Clara opened the door slowly, her face pale and drawn. "Maya, I told you to stay away from that house." Maya stepped inside without answering. "You lied to me." Clara shut the door, her eyes wet. "I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything." Maya laid the diary and the letter on the table. "You knew he was still alive, didn't you?" Clara's hands trembled. "He was supposed to be dead." "The police said—" "But he's not," Maya said, her voice breaking. "He called me." Clara's face drained of color. "Then he knows you're there." "Oh God, Maya, he knows." Clara sank into a chair, covering her mouth with her hands. "I told your mother to burn everything, the diary, the photos, all of it. But she couldn't. She thought if she wrote it down, she'd stay sane." "Tell me who he is," Maya demanded. Clara looked up, her eyes haunted. "His name was Samuel Hart, your father. He wasn't always like that. At first, he was charming, protective. But after you were born, something changed. He started following her, recording her, accusing her of things that didn't make sense. She tried to leave. He swore he'd never let her go." Maya's throat went dry. "So she ran." "Yes, she came to me, terrified. I helped her change her name, move into that house. But he always found her. Once, twice, again. Until one night, she vanished." "Vanished?" Clara nodded slowly. "They said it was a car accident. But her body was never found." The room went still. Maya whispered, "So what if she didn't die? What if she was taken?" Clara shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Don't do this to yourself, Maya. Sometimes not knowing is safer." Maya looked down at the diary, its edges worn, pages fluttering slightly in the draft from the window. "Not anymore," she said. "I need to finish what she started." That evening, Maya drove back home. The sky was turning purple, the last of the sunlight bleeding into shadow. The house loomed ahead, quiet, still, but no longer just a house. It felt like something watching her, waiting. She stepped inside. The air was cold. Dust floated in the thin light from the windows. On the table lay the diary, exactly where she'd left it. But something was different. The blank pages, they weren't blank anymore. Faint handwriting had appeared in shaky, faded ink. "He's here." Maya's blood ran cold. The words were new, written since she'd left. A floorboard creaked above her. Maya turned her head slowly toward the ceiling. The sound came again, soft, deliberate, heavy steps pacing the upstairs hallway. Her throat tightened. She grabbed the nearest thing she could find, a fireplace poker, and moved toward the stairs. Each step groaned beneath her weight. Halfway up, she heard a door click open. Then, a whisper. Deep, low, familiar. "Evelyn?" Maya froze. That voice, the same one from the phone. She whispered back, "Who are you?" Silence. Then, closer this time. "You look just like her." Her heart slammed in her chest. She turned the corner, and the hallway was empty. The door to her mother's old room was half open, the air inside flickering with faint light. She stepped inside slowly. In the corner of the room stood a man. Tall, thin, with gray hair and a face half hidden in shadow. His eyes gleamed when they met hers. "Maya," he said softly, almost lovingly. "You found me." She tightened her grip on the poker. "Who are you?" He smiled faintly. "You don't remember, do you? You were too little." "I'm your father." Her stomach turned. "You're lying." "My father died years ago." He took a step closer. "That's what she told you." She wanted you to hate me. She wanted to protect me. He laughed, low and hollow. Protect you from the truth. She was the dangerous one, not me. Maya shook her head. She was terrified of you. He tilted his head, voice dropping to a whisper. Because she knew I'd come back for you. He lunged forward suddenly, grabbing her wrist. The poker clattered to the floor. Maya fought back, struggling to free herself. Let me go! You belong with me, he growled. You always have. In the chaos, she slammed her hand into the table, knocking over the diary. It fell open, and the candlelight hit the last page. New words appeared, written as if by invisible hands. Run! Maya tore free and bolted down the stairs, tears streaming down her face. Behind her, she heard his footsteps pounding after her. She reached the front door, fumbled with the lock, and flung it open. Rain and wind slamming into her face. She didn't look back, not until she reached the road and turned around. The house was dark again, silent. No figure followed her out. Only the sound of her heartbeat and the faintest echo of her mother's voice in the wind. Run! When the police arrived hours later, Maya led them to the house. But where it had stood, there was nothing. Only an empty clearing, overgrown with weeds and ash. The officer looked at her in confusion. Ma'am, there hasn't been a house here in 20 years. Maya stared at the space, shaking her head. I was just inside, she whispered. In her hands, the diary fluttered open to a single, final line that hadn't been there before. Welcome home, Maya. Morning light broke through the clouds, soft and gray. Maya sat in the back of a police car, her hands still trembling. An officer stood outside, speaking into his radio. Another shined a flashlight over the empty ground where the house was supposed to be. There's no sign of a foundation, no remains, he said. Just scorched soil, like it burned a long time ago. Maya heard their words but couldn't process them. Her eyes were fixed on the diary lying in her lap. Its cover was warm, impossibly warm, as though it had a pulse of its own. The last words she had seen before fainting echoed in her mind. Welcome home, Maya. When the officers turned away, Maya slowly opened the diary again. The pages were blank. Every single one. All the ink, all the handwriting, gone. No, she whispered. No, no, no. She flipped faster and faster, desperation rising in her chest, until she reached the very last page. There, written in faded, trembling ink, was a single line. The truth is buried where the fire began. Her heart stopped. The fire. Her aunt's words came rushing back. She vanished. They said it was a car accident. But what if it wasn't? What if the accident was a cover for something else? Maya turned toward the clearing, scanning the ashes. And then she saw it. A faint trail of blackened earth leading into the woods behind, where the house once stood. Without another word, she started walking. The forest was quiet except for the sound of her footsteps crunching over wet leaves. The deeper she went, the more the air smelled of smoke and damp soil. Then, ahead, she saw it. The faint outline of something half buried beneath moss and ash. A car, or what was left of one. The metal was twisted, rusted, almost melted into the ground. Her pulse quickened as she knelt beside it. Through the shattered glass of the driver's side window, something caught her eye, a glint of gold. She reached in carefully, pulling out a locket, its chain tangled and blackened by fire. Inside was a small photo, her mother, holding baby Maya, and beneath it, folded so small it was nearly invisible, was a piece of paper. Maya's breath hitched as she unfolded it. The handwriting was faint, but familiar. Her mother's. If you find this, my love, it means the past has finally caught up. I did not die by accident. I ran from him one last time, but he found me. I tried to protect you the only way I knew how. I made sure he could never hurt you again. Maya's hand trembled. What do you mean, made sure? She whispered. And then she noticed something else. A second note, scorched, but still readable. The handwriting wasn't her mother's this time. It was her father's. You burned it all, Evelyn. You took everything from me. But even fire can't erase the truth. She'll come back. She'll remember me. Maya's eyes filled with tears as the truth began to take shape. Her mother hadn't been killed in an accident. She'd set the fire herself to destroy him, the house, and the life that had trapped them both. But somehow, through guilt, love, or something she couldn't explain, her mother's spirit lingered, bound to the diary, to the house, to her. And now that Maya had returned, so had everything else. The diary hadn't just told a story. It had replayed it, her mother's fear, her father's obsession, her own inheritance of that haunting cycle, and now, standing in the ruins, she realized what the final line truly meant. Welcome home, Maya. It wasn't a threat. It was an invitation to end it. Maya looked down at the diary one last time. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying whispers that sounded almost like her mother's voice. Let it go, Maya. It's over. She hesitated, then took a deep breath. With shaking hands, she opened the diary to the last page. She tore it out, letting the paper flutter in the wind like a fragile wing. Then she struck a match from her coat pocket. The flame caught instantly, curling the paper's edges, turning the ink into smoke. She dropped it to the ground and watched as it burned. Not with destruction, but release. The diary pulsed once in her hands, then went still. When she opened it again, the pages were truly blank. No whispers, no messages, no warmth. Just silence. For the first time since her mother's death, Maya felt peace. Weeks later, Maya returned to the clearing. The air was brighter now, the sky open and clear. She knelt where the car once was, placing the locket gently in the soil. This is where it ends, she whispered, and where I begin. As she turned to leave, a gust of wind blew across the ashes, revealing a single, untouched page lying in the dirt. She bent down, hesitating, then read the faint words written across it. Thank you, my daughter. You found the truth. You set us free. Maya smiled through her tears, pressing her hand over her heart. She looked toward the horizon, sunlight breaking through the trees, and whispered, I love you too, Mom. Then she walked away, leaving the past behind. The forest fell silent, except for the soft rustle of paper fading into dust. A month had passed. The world felt lighter now, softer in ways Maya couldn't fully describe. She sat at a cafe window in the city, a notebook open before her. But unlike the diary, these pages were blank because she had chosen them to be. For once, there were no voices whispering, no ink appearing on its own, just her hand, her pen, her story. Across the street, people went about their lives, laughing, rushing, living. She used to feel invisible among them, a shadow carrying old ghosts. But now, she felt present, as if her heartbeat had finally caught up to the world again. She looked down at the locket resting on her wrist. It had been cleaned, repaired. The burn marks buffed away, but not forgotten. It was a reminder, not of tragedy, but of survival. Maya whispered softly, I'm okay now, Mom. A gentle breeze brushed against her cheek, lifting a strand of hair. For a moment, she thought she smelled smoke, faint, like a memory. But when she looked up, there was only sunlight. She smiled. Goodbye. Her notebook waited, untouched. Maya hesitated, pen hovering above the first line. Then, slowly, she began to write. Once upon a time, there was a girl who lived inside a story she didn't understand. One day, She found the courage to finish it. The words flowed easily now, not from fear, but from freedom. Each line she wrote felt like breathing. Each paragraph felt like forgiveness. And when she paused, she could almost imagine her mother's voice, not from beyond, but within, whispering, "Write your life, my love, not mine." That night, as she walked home under the city lights, she passed a bookstore window. Inside, a stack of old books sat in the display. Among them, a single black diary. She stopped for a moment, staring at it. The same kind of cover, the same golden edges, but when she looked closer, she saw the title embossed faintly across the front. The Last Page. Maya let out a quiet laugh, part disbelief, part acceptance. "Maybe some stories never really end," she murmured. Then she turned away, walking into the glow of the streetlights, the reflection of the book fading behind her.